My teacher asked her class to freely write down words or sentences that come to our mind when we hear the future of food problems. After we got some time of thinking, we talked about starvation, local extinction, and the Ukraine war. That we need to have smart production and good policies. Afterward, explored and discussed the efforts people are making to address future food problems. I found them! Green Lab for better production and smart beekeepers.
전 세계적으로 지금 기후위기가 굉장히 심각하고 그에 따라서 전 세계 식량 생산의 지도도 굉장히 많이 바뀌고 있어요. 그렇게 생각했을 때 그린앱스가 할 수 있는 것은 먹는 것에서 발생하는 탄소를 굉장히 파괴적인 혁신을 통해서 산업의 근본적인 구조를 바꾸는 것이라고 생각을 하거든요. 그래서 파괴적인 혁신만이 글로벌 기후위기를 타개할 수 있다. 그래서 이 모든 과정들에 저희가 이런 통합적인 솔루션을 만든 것이 이제 그린랩스 어스라고 할 수 있습니다.
타길은 지속가능한 방식으로 농민과 시장, 고객과 원료, 그리고 사람과 가축과 식량을 이어주고 있기 때문에 우리의 미래 비전에 신뢰할 수 있는 파트너십이 중요하다고 생각합니다.
카길은 이미 수년간 저메탄, 저탄소 식품을 어떻게 생산하는가에 대해서 연구를 해오고 있었어요. 거기에 굉장히 많은 연구비도 투입을 했고요. 그래서 저메탄, 저탄소 식품을 생산할 수 있는 방법들은 굉장히 많이 가지고 있었어요.
소가 사료를 먹고 소화할 때 많은 양의 메탄을 좀 트름으로 이렇게 배출을 하거든요. 카길의 저메탄 사료는 생산성을 좀 증가시키면서도 장에서 메탄이 덜 생성하게 그렇게 만듭니다.
소가 이 호흡 챔버 안에 이제 들어갑니다. 그러면 이제 여기는 닫힌 공간이고 소가 거기서 24시간 동안 사료를 먹으면서 소화를 시키는 과정에서 메탄이 나오게.
일반 사료를 사용할 때에는 우분의 그 미소와 사료들이 섞여서 나오는 그런 경향이 있었고요. 소화가 좀 덜 되는 기분이었었죠. 느낌이었었죠. 소한테도 나름대로 소화 효율이 더 좋아져서 건강해지지 않나 이런 생각을 해봅니다. 그래서 저메탄 사료를 급여하게 된 것입니다.
어차피 받아들여야 될 미래라고 생각한다면은 우리가 리딩 그룹이 먼저 앞장서 가지고 받아들이고 해나가는 것이 우리의 이제 역할이라고 생각해서 시작하게 됐습니다. 우선 소비자들한테 좋은 인식을 심어주고 소비자들의 반향을 이끌어내는 게 제일 중요한 부분이라고 생각해요.
그린랩스가 하고자 하는 사업은 결국에 이 저탄소 식품을 잘 생산하고 공급할 수 있는 이 경제적인 인센티브 구조들을 잘 설계를 하고 그것을 공급받는 바이어 입장에서 이 제품에 대해서 정말 저탄소 혹은 탄소 중립으로 생산이 되고 유통이 되었는지를 신뢰할 수가 있어야 돼요. 근데 이제 이번에 그린랩스 어스라는 인증 솔루션이 도입되면서 그냥 단순히 그 솔루션에만 그치는 게 아니라 거기서 생산된 최종 생산물이 실제로 소비자한테까지 전달되는 이 모든 과정까지도 저희가 프로젝트 매니징을 하게 됨으로써 이게 실질적으로 단순히 어떤 연구의 결과물이 아니라 우리가 정말 소비할 수 있는 제품으로 만들어냈다는 점에서 저희는 큰 의의가 있다고 생각합니다.
Hello, what is your role in your company and what have you been doing for your work?
Hello, Terry. Nice to speak to you as well. I currently work in an tech company called Green Labs and taking care of financial business as a head of financial business division. Many of you understand that agriculture is an important area of people's living, but also a very challenging area to access, especially for those who hasn't had practical experiences. Farmers or people who'd like to do farming businesses have to consider about every step from cropping, harvesting, shipment, etc., which you probably will need to invest much time to get an optimized solution. I and my team is working very hard every day and night to solve these problems.
Thank you for sharing. So, were there any particular reasons or motivations for your decision to work in the agri-tech field?
I think Green Labs has made a meaningful milestone with Farm Morning App service. About 800,000 local farmers, that is more than 70% of agricultural population in Korea, uses our app service to reach out to useful information and community services for better their agriculture businesses, which we made it within just 2 years. What we have acknowledged from these results that there were many lack of information and lack of accessibilities to agriculture business in real life. Then we looked into how the traditional facilitation of agricultural business work, and we found out that many farmers suffer from the unexpected outcomes by not knowing efficient farm management of their own. What I and my team is visioning in this field is to become the best-in-class data-driven agtech platform and services, solving the practical problems and helping them to manage well to better their agriculture business sustainably. Okay, so Terry, how about yourself, Terry? Why are you interested in smart beehive keeping?
Throughout the past few years of my interest of the United Nations agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, I found that climate change and global warming cause more negative effects than I knew and even that I can never expect. More specifically, I thought the response and recovery program to respond to the food insecurity issues caused by COVID-19 and the continuing war in Ukraine could be more comprehensive by accompanying technologies to agricultural industries and food systems. As beekeeping has been recognized to be traditional and originally led by local and professional farmers, I wanted to emphasize the roles of bees in food production and why adopting the technology to beekeeping is crucial to cope with climate change.
Okay, that's great. Have you had any challenges in conceptualizing the idea of smart beehive keeping?
To be honest, there were a lot. As a person who lives in a metropolitan area in Seoul, South Korea, I could never imagine how many bees are bred in a beehive, how many beehives in a single livelihood owns, and even how long the bees can live. So, I tried to study the current state of declining bee populations and the threat to global security so that I can develop an idea to benefit both people and planet. And then I reached experts in two different areas: computer technology and agriculture. What I found after meeting was that the technologies do not only include genetic modification or fertilizers using natural resources, but we can even apply gene sequencing, gene editing, hydrometeorological forecasts and warnings using graphs and digital information, and even more. So, as you're now working for an agri-tech startup that contributes to agricultural productivity by combining ideas with technology, what challenges have you had while industrializing the concept, and how did you overcome them?
We believe that the technologies such as cloud-based IoT, data-driven services will help agriculture industry more efficiently. But most stakeholders, including the farmers or food retailers, had their own ways of doing their business already. Not many people were so happy with innovations or changes, but if you can see whom they are connected with in the value chains, you might find out the answers to step forward. The key was to understand the ecosystem of the agriculture business fully, end to end, and seeing the connections between the stakeholders in each and every stage to bring the practical results that helps farmers to manage their farming businesses in profit-wise and productivity-wise.
Based on your experiences, can you give advice to youth who are trying to implement ideas with technology?
Sure. Long story short, focus on your users, people who uses your services and products. Focus on the fundamental. Don't forget to look into the addressable market size and share of markets where you are heading. Deep dive for the business insight and user experiences. Trust your vision and trust your team and colleagues. Be conscious in market trends and start small and start today. Okay, so Terry, as a youth who develops like you, what kind of supports would you like to receive from companies like us to realize your idea?
Actually, I'm more than confident that technologies can transform agriculture. However, I'm still struggling with which technology should I apply to this idea to make this feasible enough to be adopted by local farms. This is why I think binding three different groups, youth, businesses, and local livelihoods is the most important.
It's good. I promise I will find out what we can do for you. Now, Terry, what is the ultimate goal you'd like to achieve by realizing your idea?
There are two aspects: to establish partnerships between local businesses and agricultural livelihoods, and to engage more youth in these kinds of projects. Nowadays, all are connected to each other like never before, and we are facing very rapid changes in all living areas. The role of youth is becoming more and more essential, and we should all try to come up with an innovative solutions based on our own experiences, which may be effective today and tomorrow.
That was very amazing. It was very good opportunity to having a wonderful conversation with you, Terry. I hope and like you to keep stepping forward even though there are many challenges arise on the way. Innovation starts from seeing the obvious, not obvious. The same for the new technologies and good ideas. So I hope you can be one of the great innovators who always seeks for better solutions and make meaningful changes that can help the nation. Thank you.
Thank you for a great conversation.
I found them! Chadwick International High School students and George Mason University Korean campus students.
policy and guidelines for the implementation of school-based feeding program as stated in Depth Order number 39, series of 2017, to ensure that the foods are fresh, nutritious, and of good quality. Proper selection is required in deciding what food should go in the bag. For us, to maximize the budget given to us, most of the products we purchase are from local farmers.
We, LSTHS PSL student leaders, are in charge in packing of food packs that are distributed to the beneficiaries of PSL Food Assistance Program.
We check and count every piece of the chosen goods to make sure that every beneficiary of PSL Food Assistance Program will get a complete food pack.
The quality and expiration date of every product is checked for the safe consumption of the beneficiaries.
Food pack contains nutritious foods that will help student beneficiaries have a good health and focus on studying. Instead of using plastic as bag for the food packs, we use paper bags for the rice and deco bags for the whole pack. This is to reduce plastic consumption and promote an eco-friendly environment.
I am Jocelyn Galler, grade 9 student and recipient of the school feeding program. The food pack I am receiving is a great help, not just only for me but for my entire family. Especially during the time when COVID-19 pandemic hit the Philippines and my family's source of income is limited. The food pack lasts for almost 4 to 5 days and we are all happy because we can start and end the day with food in our stomach. Thank you.
First, I'm really grateful to be one of the beneficiaries for Philippine Service Learning Food Pack. The food pack that they give help us a lot. Me and my family are great. It's a big help in our everyday. It helps us not to starve for one, and a big help to save money. Food pack from the sponsor Chadwick International School had a big help for us not because the food itself, but the opportunity to save money. And it's also important because the food that they give to us help us in our everyday life, like the rice, vegetable, milk, coffee. Also that the food pack is filled with healthy food like they added vegetable. The food pack help us especially when COVID-19 pandemic hits our family.
Ako po si John Lloyd Dinano, grade 9 student ng Manila Intermediate School. Dahil ka Marines Norte. At isa po sa officer nyo ng International School, Philippines Service Learning. Sa tuwing darating ang food pack, agad namin itong niluluto at pinasasaluhan ang aming buong pamilya. Dahil may gulay rin itong kasama, ito ay masustansya at nagpapalusog sa aking katawan. Dahil na rin po dito, ako po ay nahihikayat na mag-aral sa kabila ng COVID-19 pandemic. Muli po, maraming salamat po.
Hi everyone, we are SDGs Builders, and I'm about to tell you on what we've been working on for the past 1 year. SDGs Builders is a CDC project group that conducts academic research and projects in close collaboration with international organizations. So, what do we aim for? We aim to acquire keen insight and hands-on experiences in international development and cooperation, and further contribute to achieving 17 UN SDGs towards a healthier and equal global society. This project that we've been working on for the past 1 year is KSDG's mentoring program with United Nations Economic and Social Council approved NGO On Happy. So, what is KSTG's mentoring program? It's a program that IGC students become mentors and teach SDGs in English to underprivileged middle and high school students who live in islands of Incheon. This year, we focus on teaching SDG 2, 3, 4, and 5 to these students in Pingyang, Ganghwa, Deokjeok, Yeonpyeong, and Yeonhaeng Island. Then, how do we start this KSTG's mentoring program? Korea hasn't been able to give back as much as what we have received in the past from other countries due to the rapid economic growth. That was all we could focus on. However, after things settle down a little and become stable, the Korean government has established KSTGs to make efforts to return what we have received. The KSTG's mentoring program is a project launched by Unhappy and SDGs Builders to promote the efforts made by Korea. We currently aim to promote these efforts to not only Incheon but also other regions as well as other nations overseas. Now, how do we teach them? Because mentors and mentees are physically far away because of COVID-19, we use Zoom for the class. Also for the class content, we used slides we used from YouTube, and Kahoot was for the review game. On the first day of class, we started with the ice-breaking session and had time to get to know each other. We introduced ourselves by name, school, age, and MBTI. In class, we teach the concepts of each SDG 2, 3, 4, and 5. Most of the class time was used for explaining the concept, so we typically showed the efforts that Code Cup and Unhappy were working for the SDGs. After that, we had time for the review game, which we used Kahoot. By this game, mentees had a chance to review the keywords and had time to ask mentors. Also, this was a point that the mentor and mentee were become closer. The long-term goal of this program is to have a campaign to promote the SDG and open a forum to introduce this program.
Hello, Sojang. It's great to speak to you today.
Hi, Xian. It's a great honor to have a discussion today. So let's start with the first question. Is there any special reason why you decided to participate in the Philippine Service Learning Program?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So the reason why I joined PSL was because I was struck by its very unique vision and attitude towards service. So a lot of those service organizations that I had previously worked with in the past have been very heavily focused on this concept of donation as service. And although PSL also does emphasize that aspect of service, it also includes aspects of human interaction and really emphasizes this idea of building a sense of community. And that was really something that PSL taught me, was that donations are just a sort of method that service organizations can utilize to alleviate the living standards of the recipients in the short term. But if we really want to focus on long-term improvement, we need to help support the communities to become more autonomous and develop the capacity to sustain themselves. And this vision that PSL shared with me is what ultimately inspired me to join PSL. Back at you, Sojang, what was the main reason you decided to participate in the SDG Builders activities?
Firstly, I was interested in this project. However, I have no idea what this is and how to participate in it. And one day, one of the mentors, who is now wonderful president of our project, Taeyong, asked if I wanted to participate for the SDGs Builders, and I said yes right away. The reason that I said yes right away is because I was interested in mentoring rather than the SDGs at first. So to teach them, I think I need to study more about SDGs. So I started to search it, and I studied, and I found that SDG was the one of the organized and defined 17 environmental and global problems that I was interested in. So I became more interested in about the SDGs. As I prepared for the class, I became more sincere in this activity than before, and I thought that I should teach classes in which mentees can get a lot of things until the end of this project. So can you share some of the memorable experience you had from the PSL activities?
Yeah, of course. Where to start? Well, my number one memory from my PSL experiences is probably when I met all of the students, teachers, and government officials in Labo, which is the town in the Philippines that we visited for the first time. I remember we were in Aniceta de Lara Pimento High School, which is one of the schools that we're collaborating with. And even though it was our first time meeting everyone, or at least my first time meeting everyone, you could just sense the exhilaration that was in the air in everyone's minds. And going back to my point from earlier, that moment when I was shaking hands with everyone and looking into the eyes of all of the people that I was meeting, you could really tell the deep intellect and deep passion within them. And I can't emphasize enough the fact that there is a world's difference between someone who simply knows that they should be helping others versus someone who has seen and experienced firsthand the joy, the energy, and the aura of life, if you will, that radiates from these people. And I think the important thing is also, once you start working with and meeting these people, that same aura radiates off of you as well.
That's cool. And for the next, did you face any challenges or difficulties as a part of PSL?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of challenges, I think I would say probably our biggest challenge is the fact that we're students. So we're a student-led organization, which means even though we care very deeply about the Philippines and we really want to do more initiatives and more activities, we are sort of limited by the fact that we have to prioritize, of course, schoolwork. I'm sure you're also, as a university student, familiar with that sort of restriction. And that's why I'm really honored to have been invited to speak here today on behalf of my organization. Because as much as this conference is about raising awareness, I think at its heart of hearts, it's really also about a call to action, if you will, where it's my hope that through this conference, we'll be able to inspire other people, students or adults, young and old, to begin their own initiatives and fill in the gaps not yet filled by PSL or by any of the other organizations here today. So Sojang, what were the memorable moments as well as difficulties that you had during the SDG Builder activities, and how did you tackle those challenges?
I'll make the long stories shorter. The KSD's mentoring program was the very first project of SDGs Builders, which was launched at the beginning of this year. So there was quite a few trials and errors. We faced various problems in and out of class, and as we overcome, we felt like we were going over a huge mountain. There was small conflict between mentors in making the slides and also the communication problem as well. So you see, SDGs Builders is not a simple school club for fun. We do projects that require strong responsibility. And those projects have a huge workload as well. It needs a huge amount of effort and time spent. It is true that most of us had a hard time balancing the workload with our studies, so this is why some of our mentors started to give up and quit. And this was one of the biggest difficulties we faced. However, even though these big and small obstacles exist, the remaining mentors felt strong responsibility and wanted to make choices that wouldn't affect the mentees in a bad way. So we didn't want them to feel as if they were being given up, and we didn't want to deprive them of their right to be educated well. So we had to choose whether to stick with the project and build it from the base, fixing all the problems we experienced, or give it up and quit this project like the previous member did. However, we chose to remain. Although we only had a very small number of people, we didn't give up and tried our best to work on the project. The reason why the remaining mentors think, let's make a choice that wouldn't affect the mentees in the bad way, will be connected to the impressive experience I had while working on the project. I don't know how other mentors think, but I haven't had a moment that wasn't impressive. Because personally, I like to teach others. The only career I thought for my whole life before I became a college student was to be a teacher. Especially when I was in class, whether the class was held on Zoom, I can feel the mentees' willingness to learn, and it was impressive that they listened carefully throughout the class, shared their opinions, and communicate with each other. I was definitely in a position to become a mentor and teach mentees. However, when I look over, I think there was more things I've learned from the mentees. For me, these was the all-impressive experience, the process of preparation, and also actually teaching. The only reason that I was able to overcome all the difficulty was because of mentees. So for the last, Xian, is there anything you want to achieve or want to try through the PSL activities?
Yeah, well, I think it would be great if PSL could go on to work more closely with not just our partners in the Philippines or in Korea, but also work with other organizations and other initiatives like your own all around the world. And actually, on that note, I do have several colleagues from PSL in Rome right now in the WFF flagship event who are basically doing just that, meeting other initiatives from all around the world and developing that strong relationship and bond with those other organizations. And actually, on that note, to speak a little bit more about the particular UN SDG that we're focusing on, UN SDG number 2, Zero Hunger, this is just my personal opinion, but if you really think about UN SDG number 2, it's actually a very weird and sort of out of place SDG. And what I mean by that is it's not an issue that should exist, technically speaking, because we already produce enough food to feed everyone in the world. So really, the question comes in, where is it going wrong, right? If we're already producing enough food, we have the food supply, why can't we feed everyone? Why are there billions of people who are starving every year? And I think the answer really comes down to inequitable distribution. So it's a problem with how do we distribute that food supply? And I think a perfect example of that is with Labo. As I mentioned earlier, it's the town in the Philippines that we're visiting. And if you go there, it's not like it's some barren desert in the middle of nowhere. There's no food anywhere. They have food. They have a market, actually, and that's where we, as was shown in the video, that's where we buy a lot of the food items for our nutrition packs. But it's just that the people there don't have sustainable and reliable income to afford that food. And so I think the next steps for PSL, as well as for any other organization that wants to really focus on the second UN SDG and improve on it, our main focus and tasks will have to be cooperating with not just the people who are on the receiving end of this aid, but also the people who are supplying and distributing food items and food supply to ensure everyone is guaranteed a sustainable life that's free from famine and hunger. Lastly, Sojung, do you have any goals you want to achieve or want to try through the SDG Builder activities?
I think we've already achieved a lot of ideal through SDGs Builders activities. One of the most recent achievements was the first face-to-face meeting of mentors and mentees that we just held last week by conducting a campaign. When I first started this project, I was supposed to conduct face-to-face classes, but because of COVID-19 issues, we weren't able to do that. So we've planned to go to the island where students were. However, we got a good opportunity from the Incheon Metropolitan Office of Education to conduct a campaign, an event called Incheon Education 한마당. So it was the first time to meet the mentor and mentee, but by preparing and proceeding the campaign, we was able to finish the campaign successfully. For the long-term goal, as we talk at the video, SDG Builders plan for the forum in November, and I believe the successful completion of this forum is a big goal to achieve and also a new attempt for me. I've hosted a forum before, but this is my first time to have a forum with activities that I've done, and it's a forum of mentees presenting their activities so far on stage. So I think it will be meaningful, and to achieve one big goal with mentees will be really meaningful. If SDGs Builder continue activities after this year, I think teaching not only Incheon Island students, but also other students in Incheon to improve their understanding of SDGs and English skill will be a new goal. To summarize, the PSL project is a project conducted overseas, and then the KSG mentoring program of SDGs Builders is an SDG education program conducted in Korea. So I think it would be better if we work together to set the direction and framework for SDG education and nutrition and promote it to the public in Korea and also and abroad. By educating and working for the better nutrition of SDGs in Korea and abroad, it would be nice to help future generations to think about the ways to solve the SDGs and work together on a way to solve SDGs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I found them, young farmers and government officials from Jeollabuk-do province. Hello. My grandmother lives in Koksang, Jeollanam-do. I grew up eating the rice that my grandmother made since I was born. From corn in summer to persimmon in autumn to deep flavored kimchi in the early winters. My grandmother's food has a special taste that warms the heart. However, recently my grandmother is very worried. Her back is bent and it is hard for her to work. She sighed and worried when she talked about young people leaving her hometown. She worried about who would take care of her grandchildren and future grandchildren. Can we create an area where young people don't leave and continue to farm? I want to find a solution to my grandmother's worries.
Did you know? This is Korea inside Korea. Jeollabuk-do. Jeollabuk-do has embraced the life of all Korean people from the remote beginnings of history. A place of affluence that spreads its broad and warm bosom. This is the land where everyone wants to live. And that embraces anyone who wants to live there. It is Jeollabuk-do. Here, we dream a new dream, embracing the most Korean future of Korea. Jeollabuk-do offers an answer. We bloom smart agriculture and the bio-industry by applying various advanced technologies of the age of fourth industrialization to carve out the foundations of traditional culture that continued for over 5,000 years and create value in the healthiest and safest agricultural products for the future. We are turning the beautiful nature and traditional culture into global tourist attractions shared by the world. We embrace the dream of future growth with new food and carbon industries in the coming century. In Semangu, the land of opportunity, we are nourishing the dreams of the youth through the World Scout Jamboree. And we dream of a future of hope where we become the center of the Northeast Asian economic hub, based on creative passion. The place you can see, hear, and feel is a broad and warm bosom. The place everyone wishes to live together, Jeollabuk-do. It is continuing everything that is authentic Korean with its brilliant history, blooming those dynamic aspects of Korean culture into a global culture. We make a new start here. We embrace the most Korean of Korea.
Hi, JC.
Hi, Mike.
Glad to meet you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be a discussion partner today.
Likewise. Well, my name is Mike Yoon, working for Jeollabuk-do Province, and it's an honor to be here and join WFF 2022 as a representative in the government sector. I'd like to ask you some questions as you're a specialist in the farming field. I was informed that you had quite a lot of interviews with farmers. Was there any occasion that you got interested in farming sector?
Thank you for the question. I have worked for a civil society organization for the last 12 years, in which I monitored human rights violations committed by Korean companies overseas. I realized how small-scale farmers in many countries of the global south are vulnerable to abuses by multinational companies like land grabbing and labor exploitation and even forced labor. This is how I was interested in farming or the rights of farmers, and my interest in farming grew when I was spending a year in a farm school in the United States.
Okay, good. That's very interesting to me. Well, then can you please come up with a specific talk with farmers during the interview you had in terms of climate change and farming, please?
Currently, I have been conducting research on climate change and human rights of farmers. This is why I had interviews with many farmers all over the country. Last month, I met a beekeeper in Haenam, located in southwest part of Korea, who told me that he lost millions of bees last spring because of climate change. What made things worse is widespread practice of spraying, pesticides by drones, which made honeybees more susceptible to pesticides poisoning. And small-scale farmers are not only vulnerable to climate change itself, but they are also negatively impacted by the measures to address climate change, like renewable energy project, whether it is solar panel plants or wind power plants. Most of projects are being carried out by profit-driven businesses without meaningful consultation with local communities. So in so many places, I keep finding individual farmers suffering from these projects and local communities dismantled by the dispute over compensation around the project. I think there are similar issues in Jeollabuk-do province as well. And how is the current situation there?
Okay, well, that's a very good question you asked. Well, there are many farming issues going on in Jeollabuk-do province, And one of the most critical issues now we have is a drop in rice price by more than 20% compared to last year. And because of oversupply and low demand at the same time. And so we are asking farmers to reduce rice production and instead proposing an alternative such as soybeans and other crops to increase food self-sufficiency. We also keep trying to support policy which puts food security and food self-sufficiency first. And when they plant other crops, we will let them make stable income with subsidy.
Thank you for your answer. Are there any special activities or effort from Jeollabuk-do province to solve these problems?
Well, first of all, we open our ears to listen to what farmers are struggling and set up conferences and meetings and hearings, all the things that where we consult with professionals such as professors and researchers like yourself and to find out a better way to settle down. Well, one of the good examples I can think of now is Smart Farm Innovation Valley, which was set up for the very first time here in Korea. It's composed of 4 systems: practical training center, smart farm for lease, and demonstration complex, and big data center. It's also designed for the youth to stay stable in the farming industry. We are also supporting young farmers from early education, production, research, and sales for stable startup and settlement in rural area. Well, now back to you. Then from your point of view, what should be done first to solve those problems?
Since farmers are the most vulnerable group to climate change because they depend on climate for their livelihood, I believe the climate adapting programs tailored to farmers should be installed. And on the other hand, farmers have a lot of potential to tackle climate change. If they change their farming practices toward a more regenerative or sustainable way, they can contribute a lot to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. So for the regenerative or sustainable farming to replace conventional one, I believe financial and institutional support from government is imperative. And lastly, I believe it is very important for young people who have an interest in food system transformation and climate justice to engage in sustainable farming. We need inspiration from young farmers, more than ever before.
Right.
My question is, what kind of agriculture sector youth-led initiatives do you suggest for the younger generation to do?
Well, for youth leading rural activities, it's necessary to expand the farm income through knowledge learning and training of basic farming skills run by central and local governments, and smart farm education using ICT. It's also necessary to revitalize rural tourism by using young generation talents familiar with mobile and internet, and expanding to the 6th industry to operate, process, sell, and experience facilities in the village community. As far as I know, you are half farmer and half NGO activist at the same time. What kind of positive impacts can young generation bring to the farm sector?
As you said, I am working as a farmer for half a week, and for the other half as an NGO activist. My farming experience gave me a deeper insight into the fact that it is one of the meaningful acts facing climate change to enrich the soil by adding organic matter, to increase biodiversity by seed saving, and to recycle food waste by composting. And I'd like to wrap up my answer to your question by encouraging the young generation to engage in farming. I believe sustainable farming is one of the coolest thing in the world and one of the best way to cool the planet. And Mike, thank you for it's really nice talking to you today. Thank you for your sharing.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I found them, editor from Korea, FAO Association magazine, and participants from the first awareness raising program.
It looks delicious.
I love potato. Today's party.
I am strong. It's a very, very big sweet potato.
자, 이제 감자 캘 시간이 왔네요.
아이고 힘들다.
근데 하루 종일 이렇게 앉아있으니까 허리가 아니야. 집에 파스가 있나?
땀 냄새나. 냄새. 왜 그래 진짜.
안녕하세요.
이거 완전 맛있는데? 뭘로 만든 거야? 감자. 감자? 아까 농부들이 캔 감자로 만든 거. 아까 그때 인사했던 분들이? 감사해요. 그러게 이렇게 맛있는 음식도 먹게 해주시는
Hey, hello. I'm Yoon Kyung from Korea FAO Association. Very nice to meet you.
So hello, my name is Minji. I'm a student in 12th grade in the French School of Seoul, and it's also very nice to meet you. So first of all, I would like to start by asking you a question. So could you introduce your work at the Korea FAO Association?
I'm working at the editorial department of Korea FAO Association, and as you saw from the video, we function as the National Committee of FAO, and one of our mandates is to disseminate information to the public in Korea. So in order to do so, we are disseminating useful information and data through various channels such as the monthly magazine and the newsletters, and also several other publications.
Very interesting. So then, are there any reasons why you chose the agricultural sector for your job?
Well, actually, as I grew up in the urban area, I wasn't very familiar with the agriculture sector. However, I always knew that agriculture is important because it is where the food comes from. And also, as an international relations major, I was able to take courses which made me think about the world's major problems, including the war, climate change, poverty, and hunger. And to be honest, that was the first time when I first learned about the development goals, which was the MDGs back then, and also about the international agencies, including FAO, and I was very impressed about their efforts to eradicate hunger. Minji, now I have a question for you. Is there any particular reason you participated in the awareness raising program? Were you always interested in the agriculture sector?
So I was first introduced to this awareness raising program by my science teacher, who encouraged me to participate in this program hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Daesan Agriculture Foundation. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for me to learn about agriculture, which is not an easily accessible topic or experience living in the capital city of South Korea. So since this would be the last chance for me to participate in such an event before graduating this year, well, I decided to be part of the experience. So to be honest, I've never really paid attention to agriculture and rural areas because it is something that is often disconnected from my everyday life. But recently, with our school promoting activities that are environment related, I was very curious to learn more about things that I didn't know.
Thank you for sharing. And as I watched from the video, it seems like you experienced many kind of activities through the program. How did these change your perception on agriculture?
So this program made me realize how important agriculture is in our life because, we can't live without food. But living in a city where so many things are happening at the same time and everyone is busy living their own lives, I think that we often take for granted what we have. And also, I believe that younger generations don't necessarily have a positive image of people working in the fields of agriculture. So for example, we might think that these people didn't get a proper education compared to people living in urban areas, or that farming is inefficient and outdated, and that they have a rather aging population. However, it is thanks to them that we exist and we are able to survive. So it is therefore important for us to change our perspectives on farmers and people working in agriculture and learn how to respect and thank them for their contribution and hard work. So now, Yoon-kyung, let me ask you a question. So you're currently promoting the importance of agriculture in rural areas through the KFA magazines. Are there any specific efforts you personally put into delivering information more effectively?
Actually, nowadays, there are so many publications out there, So the biggest challenge for us is to differentiate our magazine with other publications and also make it worthy to read. And since we have a wide range of readers, including the government offices, National Assembly, and universities and individuals, so our focus is to deliver the useful, up-to-date information, but still it should be very easy to read and fun to read. So in order to do so, we organize the contents with different kind of sections and articles so people could enjoy their reading.
Then are there any special criteria or priorities you make when selecting the topics for the magazine?
We usually choose a global agricultural issue every month, and what we consider the most is the importance and its relevance to our country and also its timeliness. So for instance, we recently covered issues such as the COVID-19 and Ukraine-Russia's conflict and its impact on food security, food safety, food tech, and food loss and waste, and also food system transformation, which is deeply related to the SDGs. And Minji, you mentioned that your perception on agriculture has changed through the program. Is there a specific issue that you think is important? Can you suggest some topics for us?
So a specific issue that I think is important is the inequality of sharing. So poverty, unemployment, or low income are some of the causes of food insecurity. Some households don't have access to adequate food, whereas others who are privileged waste their food. So for example, on social media, influencers perform like media spectacles where they waste their foods for likes and views. And these people who influence younger generations have a negative impact on our society. And food hunger still exists today, and I think that it is crucial that all generations pay attention to this issue. So I believe that we need to create a sense of duty and responsibility among younger generations. I mean, people will never feel concerned until they face the problem. It is therefore important to target schools, to reach to the younger generation as they're more open-minded and willing to learn. They're just like potting soils. They are full of imagination, creativity, hope, and they have the brains and ability to make a change. So I believe that organizations such as the FAO should guide and help these institutions to provide a better environment for students to learn about food and sustainable agriculture.
Okay, thank you for your suggestions, and we will certainly consider your thoughts when we choose our next topics. And recently, I've attended several international conferences where the youth took part as important stakeholders, and I also believe that listening to the voice of the youth is crucial because they are the people who have the potential and energy and the strong willingness to transform the planet into a better place. And so I hope our magazine also could find ways to cooperate with the young people and include their insights in our magazine. So I look forward to your cooperation, Minji, and I hope you keep up with the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
저희는 아름다운 섬 제주에 있는 동백 작은 학교 학생들입니다. 2022년 세계 식량 포럼이라는 의미 있는 행사에 초대해 주셔서 감사합니다. 저희들은 기후위기 시대에 살아가고 있는 청소년들이 해야 할 일은 무엇일까에 대해서 고민하며 행동하고 실천하고 있습니다. 우리들은 우리가 살아갈 미래를 요구할 권리가 있습니다.
단순히 기후가 변하고 있는 것뿐 아니라 식량위기, 난민, 불평등, 전쟁 등 여러 문제들을 포괄적으로 고민하고 실천해야 한다고 생각해요. 저희들의 고민을 동백작은학교 학생들이 직접 작곡 작사하여 노래로 만들어 보았습니다. 우리들의 노래가 미래를 향한 발걸음의 작은 씨앗이 되길 바랍니다.
넓은 어둠 속 작은 파란 불빛 예쁘게 빛나고 있었지만 그 빛을 잃어가네. 우리의 삶은 어디로 가야만 하는 걸까? 우린 너무 즐겨버렸죠. 인간의 이기심으로 우리에게 남겨진 것 영화로 같았던 파란 지구에 온도는 올라만 가고 무너지는 빙하에 우리는 잠기고 갈 곳 잃은 붕괴콩들 동물들의 고통 기후 난민 사라져가는 숲 불평등 온난화 우리가 어떻게 지구를 지킬까? 지구가 1.5도 이상 열이 나면 지구도 우리처럼 아프고 몸살나요. 아무것도 실천하지 않고 산다면 지구가 또 배는 더 필요하대요. 하나의 지구와 되지 못하는 우리를 죽어도 되는 생명은 존재하나요? 1.5도까지 남은 성공도 이제 다른 세상 이야기가 아니에요. 분리수거 텀블러도 예쁘고 좋지만 지금 무엇보다 필요한 건 책임! 나의 지구와 더불어 살아갈 우리 시간이 없어요. 한섬을 들고 주문해봐요. 이제 지구를 위한 우리의 불편함은 우리가 믿고 있지 뭐지. 선택 아닌 필수 영원의 것 같았던 파란 지구에 온도는 올라만 가고 무너지는 빙하에 우리는 잠기고 갈 곳 잃은 붕괴콩들 이제는 우리가 지구를 살려야 하죠. 우리 다 함께 지구가 1.5도 이상 열이 나면 지구도 우리처럼 아프고 몸살나요. 아무것도 실천하지 않고 산다면 지구가 또 배는 더 필요하대요. 하나의 지구와 되지 못하는 우리를 죽어도 되는 생명은 존재하나요? 1.5도까지 남은 성공도 이제 다른 세상 이야기가 아니에요. 분리수거 텀블러도 예쁘고 좋지만 지금 무엇보다 필요한 건 책임! 나의 지구와 더불어 살아갈 우리 시간이 없어요. 한섬을 들고 주문해봐요. 이제 지구를 위한 우리의 불편함은 우리가 믿고 있지 뭐지. 선택
First, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to this meaningful event. And I really enjoyed talking to Minji, and also I enjoyed listening to the insights of young students, and also from the technical company, and also the civil society and the government.
So first of all, I would like to thank all the organizers of this forum for inviting me, but also particularly thank all the officers and representatives from all associations and organizations who are present here. It was a very great honor for me to be part of this forum and to have this experience, and I hope to see you next time.
Well, first of all, I appreciate your preparation for this WFF 2022, and I really liked being here and listen to other perspective of opinions and the way they see the food shortage. And thank you again, and I'd like to be here again next time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me this forum, even though I'm not young. Thank you for inviting me as a panelist. It's wonderful to discuss with young generation. Thank you.
First, thanks to all the organizers for preparing this forum and actually run this forum. And thank you to Xiun. We actually had a short time, but you have to prepare hard and actually write a script or talk about our projects a lot. And it was a great time to prepare and actually have a discussion in this forum. As a freshman, I didn't expect that I can speak in this big forum and talk about the activities that we've organized well. And thanks to the Sang-Young Lee, our CDC teacher, and also Taeyong, who is our president of the project group. Yeah, thanks to all of them.
Yeah, I think after listening to that, I'd be remiss not to reciprocate my thanks to Sojung as well for really helping me out a lot throughout this process. It was an incredible experience meeting with her, speaking with her, and really learning more about KSDG Builders and the initiatives that were going on really right next door to my school, George Mason University. And of course, also, as was mentioned by all of the other speakers, many thanks to the representatives from the FAO and the various other organizations that really made this event possible. I'd also like to thank all of the people from my organization, Philippine Service Learning, whether they're in Rome right now. I know our president is in Rome, Sayan Yang, also our organization supervisor, Ms. Luz Araga, for really making all of this possible, as well as all of the club members watching online, watching our live stream online. I think really this experience was very unique for me as well as a high school senior. The fact that I was able to stand on the same stage and platform as so many specialists and experts and professionals who really have that knowledge that even though I can't bring, I hope that I was able to bring at least a little bit of that youth perspective that some of the presenters were talking about. And I hope, and I think I can safely say that for me personally, watching and listening to all of these presentations, I was really inspired to really continue pursuing these initiatives and my passion in this field. And hopefully, maybe like 20, 30 years in the future, once I've become an adult, I can also stand on the stage and be someone who can inspire younger students like I am right now.
Okay, I was so impressed that the younger generations have so much interest in agricultural improvements. So, well, I'd like to thank you for FAO to having me and having Green Life such a great place to speak out how important that the agriculture business has to improve, not just for the nation, but globally. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing the people like the guys who just participated today, be like somebody or be like innovators or a successful person in agriculture business in the future.
First of all, thank you for all the FAO's members, and it was a great honor for me to participate in this World Food Forum, and it was an honor to meet all of the members of our forum. So, first of all, it was very nice to meet all of the people who have knowledge about all of the food products and making better Earth. So, it was a very nice opportunity for me to grow my bigger inspirations and also for my future. Thank you.
넓은 어둠 속 작은 파란 불빛 예쁘게 빛나고 있었지만 그 빛을 잃어가네 우리의 삶은 어디로 가야만 하는 걸까 우린 너무 즐겨버렸죠 인간의 이기심으로 우리에게 남겨진 것 영화로 같았던 파란 지구에 온도는 올라만 가고 무너지는 빙하에 우리는 잠기고 갈 곳 잃은 붉은 곰들 동물들의 고통 기후 난민 사라져가는 숲 불평등 온난화 우리가 어떻게 지구를 지킬까 지구가 일자 모두 이상 열이 나면 지구도 우리처럼 아프고 몸살나요 아무것도 실천하지 않고 산다면 지구가 3조 배는 더 필요하대요 하나의 지구와 알지 못하는 우리를 죽어도 되는 생명은 존재하나요 1.5도까지 남은 우주 이제 다른 세상 이야기가 아니에요 분리수거 텀블러도